Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Penalty Loop Podcast, a podcast about biathlon by Jordan Gottschalk from Penalty Loop and a regular guest, RJ Weiss from Biathlon Analytics. We're supposed to poll.
Yeah?
If we need a new jingle or not.
No, it's great. Do you remember the jingle that you made for the Olympics?
No.
You made one special. So we had
was it like a sort of an Asian music?
Yes. Or... Yeah. I've lost that one. I need to go find it. I'm sure I can just take it off of an old episode, but I want to go find that one. Yeah, we've got to find it somewhere. Anytime that they go back and race, I don't know when that will ever be, but if they ever race back in Asia, then we'll bring it back out again.
Oh, but now you put the pressure on me for having to create one for Italy.
Italy? No, I think this
for
one's
next
just fine.
Or for the upcoming Olympics.
No, we'll just take the. Do you know the John Williams music? The John Williams Olympics music?
No, but that's American. And it always reminds me of Winter Games on the Commodore 64.
We don't have nearly enough music or money to pay the rights fees for that one. Yeah, pressure's on. You got to think of something good.
How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. I probably could have gone for a coffee tonight. I probably should have gotten one, but I'll have to soldier through. I'm wearing my. I don't know if you can see. I'm wearing my Germany shirt.
Yep.
So in honor of Franziska Preuss and her amazing overall victory, I've got my Germany shirt on. I just was in the mood to chat about the biathlon season in general.
Mm-hmm. So, right off the bat, what stands out most to you?
Well, that's it, right? It's the overall race. And of course, Preuss winning, but the women's overall race. The whole back and forth. I guess it wasn't really back and forth. I mean, it was...
Well, it was a lot of fourth and then a little back and then
a little back.
Forth again. Yeah. That thinking about it now, that the fact that she was in the yellow bib for so long and then, second last race, Lou takes it.
Yeah. He wears it for one day.
Yeah.
That was it. Yeah. That's pretty wild. And she takes it by what? I think it was 5 points. It's just absolutely outrageous. Because I think it was...
Maybe they should come up with some shading for yellow. Like if it's only 5 points, it's like it's a light yellow.
A light yellow? Well, I thought you were going to say that
saturation goes more and more towards bright yellow.
I think I said the longer you're in it, the darker it gets.
Oh, well, we could do that too. Or maybe it just has little stripes on the...
Yeah. Every week that you wear it, you get a little hash on it.
Yeah.
In the NBA, actually, they if your team has won a title, on the back of the collar, there's a little logo of the NBA championship. And I was just had this thought, maybe they should do that too. If you've ever won an overall, you get a little crystal globe logo on your bib. It'd be kind of cool.
They do that in European soccer too. I don't know if you've noticed some teams have a star.
Yeah.
And that's stands for 10.
Oh, I didn't know that. No.
10 European cups and domestic cups, I think.
I had no idea. I've seen the stars. I didn't know it. I assumed it stood for a championship. I didn't know it was 10.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I would have to check to make 100% sure, but
anyway, that's what'll stand out. And from, I think the whole season, you get Jean Monod, I think, won the very first race, and then Preuss wins and Hochfilzen. And I remember thinking at the time, like, wow, finally she was able to not finish second or fourth. Like, she finally got a win. And then she looked so great in Annecy. We talked in the offseason, in the holiday break, will the pressure be too much? And we talked about, it really depends on what she looks like in Oberhof. Well, comes out in Oberhof and struggled. That's not her favorite venue, but then bounces back really well. And Ruhpolding and Antholz. In the meantime, I think Jean Monod won 4 out of 5 races in that stretch to really claw back into it.
So lead up to the Worlds.
Yeah, leading into the World. So it was like, wow, what's going to happen? Preuss gets the gold medal in the pursuit. Jean Monod did not have the greatest Worlds, but then comes out in Pokljuka and in Nova Mesto and starts, cutting down on the deficit again. And then by the time they get to Oslo, it's, what was it, 20 points? It's just, and then
something
of course
like
everything happened in Oslo where you get Preuss wins, then Jean Monod wins, and then Preuss wins the final race. You mentioned it in the previous episode. That last race, they, Hollywood would have never believed it, but even the whole season, right, where you've got Preuss and all the bad luck she's had with illness and injury, and like, is this going to be the one? It looks like she's in command, and then you have Jean Monod making this ferocious charge, and you're like, is Preuss going to hang on? Is Jean Monod just going to race by her at the finish line? Is this going to be like somebody who was way ahead in a marathon and then just sort of collapses down the stretch while someone blows by her in the last, the last half mile? But no, I mean, it was absolutely, it was as perfect as you could get for an overall race until that, I don't know how far that corner is from the end, the last kilometer. I mean, it's not even a kilometer.
Less, yeah, it's 400 meters.
Half kilometer,
500 meters.
Yeah, it's nothing. And the fall. I mean, it was perfect until that moment, but then it became even more perfect. And not to be too over the top about it, but it was somehow even more perfect by their reactions in the finish line, with Preuss like not even knowing what to do, Jean Monod collapsing at the finish line, they embrace, and then they're basically like together for the next, I don't know, however many minutes.
Quite a long time, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just the two of them, and then everything that happened afterwards. It was that years and years and years from now, even with this being the last year of J2 that is going to be the thing I remember the most, and of course us being there for it made it even more crystallized.
Yeah, but it's like, I would think if I wasn't really a biathlon fan and they made a movie out of it exactly how it happened, I would see it.
Yeah,
it makes me think of the Eric Heiden movie. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
No.
I think he won 4 gold medals in the Olympics on speed skating, and they made a movie about him, and they recorded it on a hockey rink.
Huh. Yeah.
Like, they filmed his speed skating races, which are on 400 meter track,
totally
on
different
a hockey rink.
Yeah,
and that's one of those moments where you're like, really? Do you really think we're that stupid that we don't pick up on that? If you're by any means a fan of that sport, then it would have been a similar, like, come on, like, how could this ever happen?
Yes,
this, and it did.
It really did, and those two women are extraordinary. I will forever be a fan of theirs. They the way they handled themselves with such immense grace afterwards, to not celebrate, to go comfort your rival, to Jean Monod, saying, hey, it wasn't her. Like, I just tripped over myself. Like,
right away.
Don't protest it. Yeah, just saying right away, don't protest it, and the way that they just sort of stood there together. You could even see them laughing at times. Just at, I would love to know what, but I actually almost don't want to know what, because it's for them.
But Preuss said that she asked Jean Monod right away, like, do you feel it was my fault?
Yeah,
and that Lou right away said, no, that was just my own fault. I stepped on my pole, and
I love those two women. They are amazing.
Yeah.
Clearly I do. On the plane home, I wrote this, like, I think I talked about it last time, but on the plane home, I wrote this, like, 5,000 word piece that's up that probably takes everybody about 2 hours to read because it's so dense. But I was just so overcome by it. I was sitting there in the middle, right? So I was in the middle of this, like, this, there's 3 seats and I had the middle seat, and I'm just sitting there, like, hunched over, typing away on my iPad,
Yeah.
But I just had to get it out. Right. Yeah. What about you?
Yeah.
Probably the same.
No, because even though Air Canada gave me plenty of time to write an article, I didn't write anything. But
oh, did they ever? They gave you plenty of time.
Yeah. No. I think if I have to sum it up, or what really stood out, despite everything happening, just the fact that we went to Oslo and were there.
Yeah.
Which started with you saying there's a 0.01% chance that I might go to Oslo, and that I just laughed about it. And then in the end, we end up meeting each other in front of the Park Hotel.
I know.
Or I guess, what is it? Scandic?
Whatever, yeah.
The nice hotel there. That's where you meet up and have this glorious weekend with beautiful weather.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. There are, and I've mentioned this before, I think that there are very few people I could spend that amount of time with, because we were with each other like 24/7 for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right? And there are very few people I could do that with. So maybe like my dad, Katie, and my family, and my buddy Craig, and that's probably it. Like I could do that with. Yeah. I'm being totally serious when I say that.
I just wish I could say the same, but it's, no, and it's so funny, right? Because I mean, we've been chatting at least on a weekly basis for over 3 years, so you get to know each other, and but at the same time, it's still. It's like,
it's like what if he doesn't shower? What if he just
couple
smells
goes dating, and then or they go on a vacation all of a sudden, and then you are 24/7. And no, I couldn't have gone better.
It was amazing. Yeah.
Did you? So I wrote down a couple of things that kind of, when I think back of the season, makes me kind of sad.
Yeah.
And some others that give me kind of tears of joy. Did you want to kind of go through that a little bit?
Yeah, let's do it.
Anything that made you sad? I know I kind of...
You wrote down a bunch of things, so I don't want to take anything off of your list. But the things that made me sad are, always going to be saying goodbye. There weren't too many retirements this year, but the big ones, of course, JT and Tarjabo, and then Emma Lunder are the ones that, they are not just with the Bow brothers, titans of the sport and all-time greats, and will be remembered forever for all the great things that they've done, and even more so, I think. Tarjabo, to me personally, I've talked about it so much, I don't need to do it again, but it's going to be really strange next season just not having him. And the last couple of years, I've almost been feeling like I was kind of hanging on by a thread. So not this most recent season, but last year that ended in Canmore, having him have that miraculous run where I think he goes into, was a Soldier Hollow, he's only down by like 49 points.
Yeah.
It just seemed like a dream. And so that I got to have that one last ride, that I got to have a couple more wins this season, the Mass Start in Odyssey. And it just is really neat that I got to experience that one more time. And I've been watching him since I was in college, and I'm definitely not anywhere close to college now. So it's amazing that I've had him around for this long. And it's not like he's just been playing out the rope the last couple of years. He's actually been very, very, very good, until the end.
He's still the youngest overall winner all time, right?
It's pretty amazing. And so saying goodbye to Tarja is really hard. And then Emma Lunder, which it almost didn't hit me how much that was going to affect me until we watched her walk out of the stadium after the pursuit. And I was like, I'm never going to watch her race again. And not being a Canadian, I didn't grow up being like, oh, Emma Lunder, but she was just always there. Yeah. And there just aren't that many North American athletes. So in growing up over here, you just sort of feel like, kinship, Canadian and American. And obviously with today's geopolitical things, I don't want to get into it. It's a little bit different, but but you just do, right? Being a fan of the sport, and you're like, oh, we're just sort of like the two North American teams, and you watch the teams themselves, like they clearly have such camaraderie with each other.
Yeah.
They, we'll see each other over the summer, but so, especially since we've been doing this podcast and talking with you and the things that we've learned and interviewing her, watching her walk out of the stadium, like I'm actually going to, if I don't stop talking about it, start tearing up. That really got to me. And just getting to talk with her after her last races was pretty cool. And then having that moment after during the men's mass start where we were actually standing around and just chatting with them during the race was incredible. And so I think, if I'm going to talk about things that make me sad, that's it, right? Those are my biathlon hero, so to speak. And then someone who has sort of represented everything that I want North American biathlon to be about, retiring at the same time was a lot. It's a lot, man. Thanks for making me get all emotional here right off the top.
Now, so let's say 15 years from now, Ben is going to ask you,
Yeah.
hey, Dad, you went to Oslo. What do you remember? Do you think, would you remember the battle Preuss Jean Monod, or would you remember the retirement of the Bow brothers? If it, which would be
If I
the
could only
top
pick
thing
one,
you remember? Yeah.
It'll be. It depends on the day, honestly. Right now, it depends on the day. Whether it's this is the craziest thing too. JT Bow is arguably one of the top 3 greatest biathletes of all time. But when I think of the retirement of the Bow brothers, I think of Tarje and talking to him after when Tobias pushed him. Was like, hey, you have to go talk to this lunatic from North America. But I think of that, and I think of alternately with Preuss and Jean Monod. I can't answer definitively what it'll be, because it really does. If you ask me on Tuesday, I'll have a different answer. Right now, my gut is Preuss and Jean Monod, but that's probably just because we talked about it for so long recently. But
yeah, and because for me, it feels that I think our original drive to go to Oslo was, other than being at the World Cup and stuff, to be there the last time the Bow brothers were there.
Yep, totally agree.
And I think Tarje being, first of all, not in contention for the overall, and then being sick, maybe took a little bit of that off.
Yeah. Yep.
But I'm 99% sure that I'll remember the Preuss Jean Monod emotions forever. Where
yes, yeah,
I think I'm on the same boat with I probably more emotionally attached to Emma Lunder retiring because she's been there so long, and she was always such a nice personality and always friendly and smiling, and I've seen her sad a couple times. I remember one race where I think it was either single mixed or a team relay where the team looked good and she didn't have a very good race, that she was very sad, obviously, but just always so kind and, making time for us even there, where I'm sure she got plenty of other things to do, and just a super nice person, and just being around that long, and one of the core people on the Canadian team, and probably combined with talking to some people in camera every now and then that know her quite well. It's just, really, I feel really blessed that we were there. I can't claim that I'm, a number one fan my whole life or that kind of thing. There's a lot of people that have probably spent a lot more time following her, throughout her career, but just still the fact that, here we are, Canadian from very close to where she lives, not BC, but where she lives now, and just being there to cheer on, and that felt really special.
It was.
Yeah.
I was thinking about the interactions we had with her and just chatting with her, and it just made me think that there is something very different, maybe not very different, that's probably a little bit too strong, but in talking to the Canadian and I'm gonna exclude Campbell Wright, the American-born American athletes. There's just a different, and I'm part of it's just a comfort with English and not having to to think through a different language. But there were very few of the European athletes who I felt like we had the same sort of interaction with that we did with Emma Lunder and the Canadian group. Not anything bad about the European athletes. It's just that there was sort of a immediate friendly connection, even having never met them in person before. It's like, well,
and the same with, I think of Pascal and Zach and
yes.
Yep. Just, it wasn't even, not even a smidgen of a look of who are you guys? Like it was just, just chatting and just having a good time. And it was super.
And we mentioned the DJ Irwin.
And I think,
when she learned that, my parents are from Wisconsin too, it's just very much where these, you're our people,
Yeah. No, and at the same time, it also, we talk a lot about how biathlon is already such a small sport, and when I think of Canadian biathlon, it's always Emma Lunder as part of that, and her retiring I guess in a way makes me more concerned about the sport, because she was always there, and I don't want to take anything away from the current athletes, and I know they're gonna, be there, and I'll support them as much as I can. But there's always this concern of, are we going to see new athletes? And we had Luke Hulshoff at juniors winning or having a couple top tens, and so there's always that hope. And now it sounds like we're getting a new head coach as well.
Soon to be announced as Emma Lunder, and I'll no longer be sad, because
who knows? Yeah, no, it's well, I definitely hope they're going to stay involved one way or another. And I know that Christian is at least somehow involved with the B8 or the Biathlon Alberta Training Center with Rachel, and so there. Obviously there's the connection, and I just hope that we can find a good coaching team that, someone who can work with the current coaching staff there to keep pushing and work on those successes in the long run. So anyway, that was a long serenade there, but
do you want to switch to something happy?
Yeah.
Yeah, please.
Well, I'm thinking of, and I didn't write it down as Suvi, but Suvi stories. So where you have these athletes that either have been around for a while and were, top 30, but maybe not necessarily top 10, or maybe once or twice a season. And then to come out and have the season she had. And her name escapes me, but the athlete from Bulgaria is
Todorova.
And then, Sidorovic from Poland. Just from, I guess, angles or corners where you don't necessarily expect. And, we've had some questions about, what's going to happen with Finnish biathlon when Kaisa Makarainen is gone. And then all of a sudden there's Suvi, and you think the first couple of World Cups, just like, she just, planned it really well to be fast out of the starting blocks. And she just, does it the rest of the season. And I forgot the final standing where she ended up, but was it top 5?
Seventh.
So I don't know. Those kinds of stories every time. Just makes me very excited that, with JT Bow, there's definitely has been a lot of predictability. But at the same time, there's always surprises, and there's always people that you've sort of expect to be there, but not right at the top. Think of Jakob Fuck at 37, winning a race. So the special stories that way.
I love those stories. Vyacheslav Hornig, the Czech athlete, who he had some promising finishes as a junior, but all of a sudden, he just had a really out of nowhere season. Basically, he had one career top 40 before this year, and I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but I think he had 3 top 10s this season. So he just was phenomenal. And I made a whole post actually on the website. You can find it at penaltyloop.com about breakthroughs in career years. But, a lot of it's, people you would expect to see on there. Eric Perrault, Jean Richard, and Suvi Minkinen that we talked about. But, people like Thierry Langer, who's 33 years old and had his first top 10 this season. And or you have
Belgian women,
exactly. Maya Klutens. Lottelie obviously just keeps improving. You have Emilien Claude was another one who really impressed me. It's sort of taken a step forward this year. I mentioned on a previous episode how I broke down the different trimesters and who was top 10 for different trimesters. Would you believe that in the second trimester that Emilien Claude ranked 8th in the overall. Pretty good. So
Yeah, no kidding.
Little things like that. Yeah, no, I love those stories so much. And the young people you expect, I shouldn't say you expect, but it's not unexpected to see younger people taking a step forward. But, once you get past, 26, 27, 28, we have this tendency to think that people are locked into who they're going to be. And you never know.
Yeah.
I actually had a dream, was it last night, 2 nights ago? I've been so deep into thinking about biathlon and breakthrough seasons and stuff like that. I had this dream that there was a race and Suvi Minkinen finished like third or something really high like that. And we were trying to interview her. And you mentioning Suvi stories made me think of this. We were trying to interview her and she was speaking Finnish to us. And it was the most frustrating experience ever because we were, we were standing there and trying to ask these questions but normally in a situation like this, people would just be like, oh, hey, you can't, but we're just like speaking 2 different languages at each other. It was horrible.
Do you feel misunderstood often, Jordan?
No, I feel like I talk too much. That's really what it is.
No, and another, maybe not story, but Hardwick, Nick Hardwick, I have him in both groups because I felt really sad for him where he had a couple times where he was sick, and at the Oslo end of it, there was the hope of the medal at the Worlds in his own country, and that didn't work out. But then at the same time, where we feel like there was always such potential for him to win in the single mixed, and that he actually pulled it off and did it. So obviously a lot of joy there. So just one of those athletes that you feel a bit more connected to just because we've interviewed him and talked to him, and just a generally super nice guy. So
not to keep going back to these trimester breakdowns, but he was 6th best in the second trimester. That was just like this moment where it was like he had a handful of top 10s in that run, and just like, wow, this is who he can be, and he just keeps getting hit by illness. One person we haven't talked enough about, unfortunately, the last couple episodes, and somebody I feel bad about, is Sturlaholm Lagride. The guy who won the men's overall. I feel like we've sort of forgotten about him a little bit.
Yeah, fair enough.
And that's on me too, right? But I'd say that because I think that he has been so good now, so for so long early in his career, that it almost felt inevitable that he would win it. So I'm really, really happy he finally did.
And it gives me hope for Lou, his story.
Yes. Yeah.
Because his first 2 seasons, he was second, right?
First 3 seasons, right?
For 3 seasons,
second.
And I'm so happy. Like, I know there's always going to be people that are like, wow, JT Bow was sick and yada, yada. But, I mean, the fact that he won a Globe while JT Bow was still racing.
Yep.
Because, I mean, true, he was sick. But, I mean, that's also just part of the season, right? That I'm sure JT Bow has won a season with a competitor being sick, or that's just part
because
of it.
Competitors missed
but
races.
So not have that. Yeah, you win, but that was only after JT Bow retired. He's not going to have that. So,
I mean, his last
and JT Bow was very happy for him too. Like it's it's I don't know. I do feel that he fully deserved it. Yeah, like it's not like it was kind of ended up in his lap almost.
I was going to run through his last 10 finishes. He went second. His last 10 finishes, he went second, first, 14th, 5th, 2nd, 3rd, 2nd, 1st, 4th in the mass start when he already had it wrapped up. So it's not like he stumbled into it. Like he was on the podium every single time.
And we've talked about that even at the beginning of the season, where if you may not win a lot of races, like Preutz didn't have the most wins.
Nope.
Sturla didn't have the most wins, but if your bad races are still top 15s, and often more than that's how you win World Cups, right? Or Globes. Yeah,
certainly. This was not an accidental victory, and you could see how much it meant to him. And all of those, like the roars when he came across the finish line, the tears when he accepted the Globe, and you mentioned that he won it before JT Bowe retired. I go back to that interview he gave when JT Bowe announced his retirement, and he was emotional. And you can just see how much it was like his brother was stepping away, and so I think it probably meant a lot to him,
how he's saying how it's almost like he's a bit concerned about the void that he sort of has to step into now with being one of the, well, I would almost say he's the only one who's like guaranteed of a
spot.
If you just do the numbers, I mean, there's enough athletes that you can say, well, so-and-so will most likely be on the team. Yeah. But there's just no way that I can see them start the season without Sturla.
Yes. Yep.
So he's going to be one of those core members, and he's, I guess, a little bit older if you compare him to someone like Frey.
Yeah, old man, 28 years old or whatever it is.
Well, yeah. So, it's going to be interesting, the Norwegian team, and especially also with all the, the things we've seen with Dala being put back to IBU and back up and down, and then obviously Christensen not being very pleased with how things were working out. And
I think they've made good. Did you see his April Fool's Day post?
Is that when he was going to ski for Belgium?
Belgium, yeah.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
See, I was so dumb because, of course, with my, checking social media 1 or 2 times a week, that when I saw it, it was like 3 days after April 1st. So I was like, oh, well, we've talked about it so many times. That makes sense.
That's the problem with April Fools, is that they linger on. If people don't delete them, they linger on for weeks afterward. They kind of keep popping up. But anyway,
I would not be shocked to see an announcement of a Norwegian athlete marrying or whatever. I have heritage, and I'm going to race for country so and so.
Yeah, I'm going to be a Estonian now. Anyway, just really, really happy for Lagerheiden. We were fortunate enough to get to chat with him for a few minutes, and just a really nice guy. He's going to do well by the sport for years now, for as long as he chooses to race, and he's got all the makeup to continue to win these things, right? He's fast enough, and he's one of the best shooters in the World Cup, so why not expect to see him? He will be. He'll be just like this, where he's not going to get the most wins, but he's going to be second, third, first, fourth, second. He's just going to keep piling up these top finishes, and suddenly at the end of the year,
I had a shitty race. I was only 12th.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. And fortunately, that's usually going to be in a sprint, and in a pursuit, he's going to rise all the way back up to the podium, because that's just how good he is. So I think, unfortunately, for the guys like Perrault and Jacques Hamel and Isaac Frey, they're going to have to deal with this old man for a few more years.
Well, yeah, he's really not that old, right?
No, he's 28. Yeah, so he could.
So,
how old was JT Bowe? Was he 33, 32?
Maybe even 31.
Yeah, so.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, 31. So.
Well, and he also has the highest hit rate of the season, in the season.
Yeah, 93.
93.
Yep.
And then, looking at Oscar Lombardo, 93, but that's only a limited number of races. If you look at the next ones, Eric Perrault with 90, Jakob Fuck, 90, Justus Strelo, 90, Frey, Simonator, 89. So,
yep.
And if I remember correctly, last year he was the best shooter too, other than Strelo, who had just an incredible shooting year.
If you look at those guys that are also shooting that well, none of them are skiing as well as
Stalder.
He is.
Stalder
right,
also had
Perrault's the big one.
I'm talking BS, because Ligrid only had 87 last year.
I think it was 2 years ago. He has been.
It's getting that late, hey?
Yeah, it's pretty late.
Yeah, 93 last year. Yep. Blah blah blah.
Yep. So I'm incredibly impressed. I'm really happy for him. absolutely earned this. I think that J2Bo was really happy for him as well. It's a huge accomplishment.
And don't bother taking it out, but it actually is 87 for the 23-24 season for Lightgrid. So I'm just messing everything up. But let's just say he's a really strong shooter. And this year he was even better. So,
all right, what else you got?
The repeating things that I'm not crazy about, declining snow conditions.
Yeah.
And let me be very clear, hats off to the people that still make it able for the athletes to ski all their races. But, it's definitely a big concern. And on top of that, even though we can have races makes you think about the environmental impact that having those races is having if there's no real natural snow available and skiing in like plus 10 degrees Celsius. So, but I'll leave it at that. I don't want to keep going on about that.
No, it's hard. It's hard.
List the. I feel kind of sad about my social media presence and the lack of research that I've been doing, analysis.
Okay.
Because I definitely want to pick that up again. And the one thing that I did also have, which is also unfortunately kind of repeating, is the Swedish team performance, where every year you feel like this is finally the year, and despite seeing good individual performances, and obviously they had success at the Worlds, but it just never seems to come out consistent enough to really be competitive for the overall. Hannah had a awful start of the season, and only the third trimester did really well. Elvira had a number of races she missed because of sickness. Samuelson had some really good races, winning the last of the season, but at the same time also some really, really bad ones. Ponsloma, same thing, great skiing, bad shooting, good shooting, not having great a ski day. It feels like there's just always something. And you really, really wish that they can put a season together where, Elvira, especially with her potential, is just going to be consistent enough to compete. Even if she wouldn't win necessarily, but just being in it the whole season, you really, because it's a super cool team. Like I think all the athletes are really cool to follow, and you just wish them a little more luck, and at the same time also for maybe they have the potential to sort of break the dominance of the French women and the Norwegian men. Not the only ones, but they definitely do have that. So I just kind of feel like sad that's just doesn't, for whatever reason, just doesn't seem to be coming out the way we'd like to.
And to echo what you said about them being just fun people, nice people, I think that they spent more time in the interview area than just about anybody other than the top finishers, like the 1, 2, 3 finishers from every race, and the Norwegians. Right. I think the Swedish they were always in there answering questions and talking. I remember the woman's name escapes me at the moment, but their media person just patiently standing in front of us, just almost like, all right, okay, come on, guys, we got, you've answered so many questions, but they were incredibly friendly, and you want them, and I don't know if this is a coaching thing. I don't know what it is, but I agree. It's like you want them to have that one year where it's not, a couple of great weeks and a couple down weeks and a couple of great weeks. Just when they're on, they're so good. Like Elvira is amazing, and Samuelson can be amazing. And you've seen
Hannah in the last trimester,
was incredible. Yeah.
So
she was, speaking of, I've talked about this a lot. She was the fourth highest point earner in the last trimester. She's right up there.
But I'm assuming she wasn't even in the top 10 for the other two.
She was not. Yeah, definitively. And it's just like, can we just get it all to go go forward. You saw someone like Victor Brandt who took a big step forward this year with his skiing, and it's like it feels like every year they have a story or two like that. Or Heidenberg, looks like she's coming along it, but then you also have Magnussen who slid backwards, or Hanna, and it's just or Ponsaloma, loses his prone shooting ability this year, and it's just I don't know what it's going to take to get them all moving forward together.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just one of those things that we hope for it to happen, but just won't, because sometimes it doesn't ever work out. I know that
it's just that they have more success than just a sporadic good result, right? So they're clearly capable of more than the occasional win. And they seem to always do really well at World Championships, but
that is the key. Yep.
I just want them to get. Yeah, I'd love to see like an Elvira right down to the last. I mean, she was there for the last race, but
just in a different manner.
Yeah. No, and then the very last thing I wanted to mention on the sadder side is individuals who, Davidova wins a race, but then has to basically sit out the rest of the season with a sore back, and Vogt who, we've talked about quite a bit, and who was having such a strong start of the season, but then unfortunately, whatever the reasons were, but she wasn't able to continue her season. And we had obviously Vitozzi not being able to return from her globe winning season. Sorry, I stole that from you from the list, but Anna Gantler, who had such an incredible end of the season last season. And I would
put Tangible in this group as well.
I was literally just thinking of Tanner Revolt, where I don't know. There was, if you ask me, do you know 100% for sure she'll be there next year? I don't feel like I could say yes to that right now.
Yeah, I would not say 100%. I would say 97%, but
yeah,
Well, and there was the Norwegian woman that we met who writes for the website, whose name I cannot remember right now. I'm being very specific, guys. Just be aware that it's getting close to midnight my time. I will actually get you the name, but
faster skier?
No. But she did write an article actually talking about how in her interview with Tangervold said that she was questioning herself. What, where she was going to go. She was not feeling good about where she was. And it's gotta be so hard for her. But yeah, I totally agree with you about what you were saying. It's Longren, LANGRENN.com. And
Longren.
Yeah. A number of athletes who were sort of robbed of their season. I mean, Vogt, she was so good to start the season that she scored 0 points. She raced only a couple of races after the first trimester. She missed the mass start in Annecy, and in those first, however many, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 races, she accumulated enough points that she still finished 25th in the overall. And not even in a full trimester. She was so good. And Davidova, she finished 33rd in the overall with the same number of races, and you just think that a full season of them would be fantastic. And Vitozzi didn't race a single race, and the answers that we get from them, I don't know if you've read any of the interviews recently with the Italian coaching staff, are still very vague. It's very strange. So we'll see. You never want that.
No, for sure. No. And then maybe we'll switch back to the positive. I was really happy for people like Giacomel, Lou, a couple people that had such a good season that sometimes you see this sort of dropping off a little bit the following season.
Yes. Yep.
And they just kept on going where they left off, opposite to, someone like Anna Gandler, who finished great and then had such a downer this season with just not feeling well. And yeah, so it was great to see that Jacomel was not a 1 year wonder, as he's right in the mix and he's looking so strong that it's almost scary.
My gosh.
The muscles on that guy, but
he seriously does.
But it's having people like him and skinny French guy, Eric Perrault, some of those young guys, and we know Hardwick is when he's healthy, he can have far more success than he already had. So it's just great to just see that fresh blood, and then a fry, and then there's probably a whole can of 20-ish Norwegians ready to burst onto the World Cup. And like you said, like we had Michelin and Jean Richard, just it's almost like they just came out of high school and just are ingrained in the World Cup.
Yeah, that's actually what I was going to mention, was the incredibly high level of the young women, because Michelin is 23, Richard is 22, Grotian is 21, Shirkaida, is 22, and that was your 5th, 6th, 9th, and 10th in the overall. And
and don't forget Heidenberg and the Botte, and
yes,
the French.
Oh, Camille,
young women a bit better.
Camille, I'm going to butcher her name. I always do. Bened, Bened.
Yeah.
She was 24, IBU Cup overall. She just had surgery on her shoulder, by the way, which apparently she injured before the season. Didn't stop her from winning the IBU Cup overall and coming to Oslo and finishing 13th, 15th, 16th.
Was Heidenberg the one that won the her first race and the single mix with Samuelson? Or is that a different?
That was Halverson, yeah.
Oh, Halverson, yeah. So, plenty of young talent.
Sarah Anderson, who
clearly
had a
can
good year.
Compete at the highest level.
That's incredible. Maya Klutens.
Yeah.
So only 23. There's so many really talented young women, and and men, right? I mean, Campbell Wright, Vitale Manson are going to be good, but I think that the depth of the women is incredible. You mentioned the men also, with Perrault and Jacomel, and I wanted to throw Martin Udall in there. And then you have this group. You mentioned these guys already, but it just is pretty cool to see that Strello was 16th in the overall, then Campbell Wright 17th, Hartwig 18th, and Hornig is 25 years old, and he's in 20th. And I just going to be fun to watch those guys fight upwards. There are going to be spots open next year. The higher up you go, it's not like there are that many retirements, but you would think that eventually Jakob Falk is going to have a little bit of a drop off after being 10th in the overall this year. Maybe not. Tarjei was 8th in the overall. J2 Bo was 2nd.
Maybe we haven't seen the best.
Honestly,
are we going to see Seminator go back to his former shooting? And
here's the thing: who's to say that Seminator wasn't just saving energy, just getting a little training in for a big time Olympic season? He's like, wow. It's only 24, 25. I might as well just save it a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, well. I'd be happy with that.
No, it would be amazing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of really fun youth coming up. And I said here a couple of years ago, I was worried about the young men, and I'm not worried about the young men. There's so much young talent coming up, and they're not all Norwegians either.
And it goes so fast, right? Because, a couple of seasons ago, people were concerned about the German women.
Yep.
And, we see Preutz win the Globe. We see Vogt be unavailable for most of the season. And we have people standing up left, right, and center on that team.
Yep.
And then the men are all of a sudden, disappointing on the German side.
Yeah.
So.
No, let's give it 2 years and they'll be showing up again.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Maybe that's where they're going to go. The Norwegians.
Sorry?
I was joking. I said maybe that's where they're going to go.
Nah.
Suddenly Surum's going to find a German passport in his family. Can I another positive?
Of course, yeah.
Branching off of this and the young men, the American men having a nice step forward this season, and I think the American team in general, with obviously Campbell Wright, Maxime Germain had a really good season. Definitely his best season so far. finishing in 53rd. He had that really great 12th place finish in the World Championships in the sprint. So he definitely has the talent in there. Jake Brown is still kicking around. He's 33, but still having some good finishes. We had
seeing Paul Schomer back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Big time return from Paul Schomer. Bjorn Vesterbilt and Vaclav Cervenka had some good races on lower levels. And then on the women's side, Deidre Irwin is still, capable of top 20 finishes. I was really happy to see Lucy Anderson in her very first season in biathlon. She was a cross-country skier through college and then decided to switch over to biathlon, and clearly she has the speed. I'm excited to see what else she can do. Chloe Levins had a really good bounce-back season after a down year last year. So definitely things are moving in a positive direction there. Hopefully, behind the scenes, things are moving in a positive direction as well. You hope that's.
Well, and I was going to say that, without wanting to turn it into a downer story, but I have noticed, particularly on the Canadian biathlon side, that we've had more offerings of like being safe at sports and being able to speak up and being clear about where the lines are drawn. Courses or seminars or whatever in the last year than I've ever remember seeing before. So if that is a result of, the situation we've had, then at least there's also something positive coming out of it.
Absolutely.
I don't get emails from US Biathlon, so I couldn't tell you there, but
I would imagine that's the same.
Oh yeah, you don't get those, of course.
No, because I'm not a member of the team. No,
right.
I'm not. Yeah, but no, in all seriousness, I imagine that there's a lot going on back there with everything that's coming out of the Joanne Reed case.
Yeah.
Like I said, hopefully things behind the scenes are moving in the same positive direction that things are moving. On the snow.
And I don't want to hang everything on Campbell's shoulders, and I really hope that it's not going to be almost like a burden for him, but to have him as sort of the poster boy for biathlon in North America, I can just only imagine, despite the successes that he has, I can only imagine the positive outcomes of such a positive attitude. And I can only imagine for younger kids to see an athlete like that. And with all due respect for someone like Preutz, with her more and I'm like that too. I would not be a good poster boy because I'm more quiet and more in my own space. And to have such an outgoing, friendly, funny character representing US biathlon, and then on top of that, also on the podium on a regular basis, is such a good thing for North American biathlon. And I really, really, really hope that we can feed off that in a positive way for years to come, and use that momentum to grow the sport here and not get tangled up in political decisions or decisions made for more personal interests, but just seeing the passion for biathlon in North America take advantage of a character like this for the growth of the sport.
Yeah.
So I really hope people can put their egos aside and come in with the right intentions for the sport. And the fact that we are getting IBU Cups in Lake Placid, World Cups in Soldier Hollow, World Cups in Canmore. Let's really, really hope that's not going to go to waste and that we can grow this, because, wouldn't it be amazing to have, it doesn't even have to be challenging the globe, but just having regular occurrences of North American athletes in the flower ceremony, at least, or where it's not oh my God, somebody, no, it's there's only one in there, but maybe there'll be 2 or 3 tomorrow, So anyway.
Yeah, No, I 100% agree. It is. I think it's a major opportunity because he will grab headlines, and that's what you need. That is what you need in probably everywhere, but I can only speak for the United States. You need somebody who's a bit of a character, who is going to make himself seen. And I will always go back to this, but the fact that he did something that was big enough that could be commented on by NBC Sports is that just does not happen for biathlon in this country. Yeah. So he's so young. He is 22 years old. He will believe that he's 21 years old, but his Wikipedia says he's 22. But there's so much more that we are going to see from him. And it's not always going to be onwards and upwards, right? There will be bumps in the road, but I think that he's got the right mentality that sport is not everything. And I'm really excited about the publicity he can bring. Hopefully, all positive, right? Mm-hmm. And destroy hopefully the general upward energy that he can bring. Yeah, like you're right. There's going to be a lot of stuff coming here over the next decade, and there's an opportunity for somebody to grab onto it.
Mm-hmm.
Can I do another positive real quick?
Yeah, let's do that.
Parents in the sport, I think, are doing really well, and we're seeing more and more of them. And maybe it's just that now that I am a parent, I am taking more notice of them. But watching people like Biba and Justine and Todorova and Paulina Bataska-Fialkova, and I know Janina Hetik-Valtz is a mom, and she's now, I think her daughter was born a couple of months ago, and so she'll be coming back next year. Samuelson is a dad, and Guigana, his daughter was born. Hornig's child was born. Just seeing parents be more open about being parents in the sport, and I'm really enjoying it, and not trying to just focus. I'm not trying to just focus on them being parents, but I think it's worth celebrating because it's not an easy thing to do to be a parent and a professional at anything, but to be not just a professional in something, but being one of the best in the world at what you do is pretty phenomenal. And I think especially of mothers, because there's just a different burden that's put on mothers. That's no matter how supportive a guy can be, and I think I've done a pretty good job of it, but there are just things that moms can do that dads cannot. And you know what I mean? Yeah. Like it, and so I will go back.
I just think of. Sorry, go ahead.
I will tell this story forever. But watching Justine walk through the lobby of that hotel, looking completely exhausted, just like I was like, I know that face, right? I've seen that face many times. You're on my wife, just you're tired. You're just like, all right, I just need to go. We're just gonna go get you some food. Then we're gonna get you down for a nap. And it was just all right. We just got to do this next thing. We just got to do this next thing. And I was like, wow, the fact that she's still able to go out there and race at all is remarkable. The fact that she was a world champion this year is insane to me. So and then you look at Todorova. Biba Bendica was a European champion, this year. These women are amazing.
Yeah, and I was exactly going to say that, where I already had so much respect for them, and seeing that picture of Justine, the mom, and still coming in 40th. Yeah. And it kind of makes me think too of, we unfortunately heard some stories on people reaching out to athletes in a negative way on social media. And,
I know,
I'm sure there's people who are like, what? She came in 40th? That sucks and stuff. And I never had that, because I think even getting 40th on a World Cup is freaking amazing. But seeing her as that mom and knowing that she probably had a super rough night, and let's just say not a perfect preparation for a World Cup race, it blows my mind. Because, I mean, if you saw her that morning, you'd be like, if she said, sorry, I'm not racing today, you would totally get it.
Yeah.
Right? Because you'd be like, yeah, there's no way I'm going to even finish the race, let alone do well. And then, 40th is not where she wants to be, but that's still incredible too.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah.
I think kudos there have been mornings where I felt the way she looked, and I had serious thoughts like, I don't want to go to work today. Like, I just need to sleep, And I do something that's much less physically challenging than what she does. And then then my interaction with her the next day or 2 days later, whatever it was, that I gave her the Mickey Mouse, and she was just like, it was like, she was like, all of a sudden she snapped right back into being a mom. It was just really, anyway, I love it. And then not to leave the dads out, but talking to Antonin Guigonan, he clearly just wanted to leave and go home to his daughter. And he still had to go and do the military championships too. And, he definitely.
And that's also, maybe this is also a good moment to shout out all the,
yes,
the parents of the kids that are not skiing, or the partners of these people, or the parents who are often at home looking after the kids, right? So to provide that support, I don't know. It's just incredible, and having seen them as people, in addition to athletes, and knowing that, they're not stepping out of bed with 10 hours of sleep every day to go to the races. And I can't imagine that especially Preuss and Jean Monod had any sleep leading up, and to be in that tense situation and then being a final standing shooting, which is already bloody hard. Yeah. And then to both hit 5, it still makes my mind explode.
Unreal. Speaking of parents, did you catch, while they were doing the medal ceremony for the men's mass start, when Samuelson's wife, her partner, was getting his son like all dressed up, because it was getting chilly out there on the snow, and they were like trying to snug this like sweater on him, and it was really sweet. Get him like in a little snowsuit. It was really sweet. We got to go out there and celebrate Dad. It was a very sweet moment. One of those things of having been there that you'll never see on TV, but it was just
right.
I loved it.
Yeah, I think that was also by the time that you were getting pretty much to the point of I just want to go home.
I just want my kids. I just wanted to give them big snuggles.
Yeah. I also wanted to mention an email that we got from Annelie from Germany. Mm-hmm. We're just naming her, but we've had a number of super friendly and kind emails from other people, and she just is the latest one and represents the appreciation that we get. We do this for fun, but I don't want to read it out because it's to us, but just the appreciation shown, and the fact that people take an effort to not write 2 lines, but actually, it's like a nice size letter. It's fantastic that people take the time to do that for us. Mm-hmm. And we're very happy. Any listener that we make happy listening to us babble about biathlon makes me happy for them and happy for us. And in the end, just kind of a biathlon family feeling.
Very much so. And I would say, if you have ever thought about sending a message to us or to anybody really, just to say, hey, I appreciate what you do, thanks for doing it. Mm-hmm. I will say that every time we get one of these, it puts a gigantic smile on my face. So I'm like, it's so touching. And so do it, right? Whether it's sending it to us or to anybody, like go send a message.
Yeah.
It's really nice to get those. So thank you to everybody who's listened, who's reached out, who said hi, who's done anything, right? It's really nice.
And everybody who puts up with our constantly changing schedule.
Hey, we're pretty good most of the time. It's just been the last couple of weeks. Yeah. Something happened. We got back from Oslo, and it's like everything got thrown off. You got delayed by a day. Our internal clocks were all thrown off, and
Well, and I didn't really have much of a schedule because I was off with my kids who were off for another week. So,
and then we were going to record one night, and I thought it was a different night, so I was like all snuggled up I was reading a book, and then I got a message like 2 hours later, and I was like, oh man.
Who keeps bugging me?
Yeah.
But now I know I'm just going to call you.
Yeah, well, go for it.
You're like, darn.
Well, then I will get the message. I wanted to mention.
And I celebrated my birthday last.
No, you didn't already.
Friday. Yeah.
No.
Well, I didn't know about yours, so it's all good.
Well,
Like
I've got the date. Well, I have it written down for the wrong date. Okay, now I got to change it. Okay. Yeah. Well, now I feel dumb.
Yeah. No. Why? No.
Oh,
I actually don't like celebrating my birthday. So.
Well, neither do I. But I feel bad.
You don't like celebrating my birthday either. Is that?
Well, no, I don't. Clearly. That was a really nice thing you said. You know, it was really touching and sweet and emotional. Now I'm going to get back to the biathlon because that's what I care about. You mentioned this earlier, but and I just wanted to say it especially because I really enjoyed it this year. But Suvi Menkinen was like one of those things that I will remember from this season going forward because I've just had high hopes for her for a while, and it was sort of one of those out of nowhere years where you have high hopes that she could do something if she could just be a little bit better at skiing. I just didn't think it was anything like this. And to see her keep doing it over and over and over and over again was phenomenal. So I enjoyed it.
And there's no reason to believe that it will go down because she already told us she's going to do the same prep, right?
Do the same thing. Yep, exactly. She's going to go back out to the Alps. So I'm really excited about that. And then I wanted to mention that the French women who I think we have talked about a lot and also not enough this season just because there are so many of them that it's hard to give any single one of them enough attention. But watching them this season has been just sort of mind-blowing that they have reached this level that really I thought the Norwegian men were going to be the only team that we ever saw do something like this in this era. I thought there were just going to be too much competition, but the French women have accomplished that on the women's side with I don't think we've mentioned the name Julia Simon at all in the last couple of hours of podcasts, and yet there she was, third in the overall. She had a couple of wins this season. We mentioned Michelin and Richard, and then there's Jean Monod and Justine, and we mentioned Paula Bottet coming up, and Camille, and
why didn't really because at the first World Cup, people have more places, right?
Yes, yeah.
To bring athletes, and for me, and I haven't been following the IBU Cup and youth and junior as much as you have, but to me, Jean Richard and Michelin felt like, they're just extra spots, and at some point they'll go back, and then
they didn't.
Obviously, they never went back, and was it Michelin who won the blue bib by like a handful of points over Jean Richard?
5 points, yep.
It's just incredible that for me, I wouldn't say they came out of nowhere. Like I heard the names, but to be so strong and so consistent. And I remember, I think maybe after the World Championships, Michelin had a bit of a dip and skiing wasn't as great, and her shooting seemed to be not as good. And then she picked it right back up and, had some amazing finishes. So,
can I just also, the amazing thing about
it's been a really fun season.
Michelin and Richard is that they've got these two very different ways of doing it. Michelin this year was, and I filtered this by, you had to have raced at least 9 races. I don't know why I picked that number. More than a trimester, basically, of races. And she ranked 6th overall in skiing. And then Richard, same filter, ranked 9th overall in shooting, hitting 90.7%. So it's like you've got a great skier and a great shooter, and they're almost
who are also really good in the other thing.
In the other thing, yes, and they're almost exactly evenly matched, and somehow they just sort of slot in behind Jean Monod and Simon and Justine. It's just so much talent, and then that.
Do you think Justine and Simon are worried about their spot for the Olympics?
I don't know, right? Because you still
I don't think you're shooing.
Right? You can only start 5, and if that is 5, and then there's Sophie Chauveau and Camille and Voldaja and Amandine, and there's just so many of them. So the French women, it's sort of mind-boggling. I'm so glad that we got to watch them do this year, and we'll get to do it the next few years. And I know the French fans have to be beside themselves with excitement, but it's kind of fun. And in addition to that, I'm excited to watch. It's sort of, when you have like a big bad team, right? And in baseball, it's like the Dodgers or the Yankees. It's kind of fun to watch other teams kind of go up against them. So it'll be fun to watch the German women try to go up against them, or the Swedish women or the Norwegian women, because the French are going to be expected to win everything. So it's just kind of nice to have that.
Absolutely, yeah.
For a year or two, and then again, it's going to be boring when they win everything, and we're going to want somebody else to to take over.
Yeah, or who knows? Like some nation will pop up and be strong competitors. And
I'm enjoying. They're not as strong as maybe they could be, but there's this group of nations of like Austria and Switzerland and Ukraine who have proven over the last couple of years that they can get into the top 10 on a pretty regular basis. And I just wanted to use that to say that there are a number of young athletes in those countries too that I'm excited about. Like with Austria, we've talked a lot about Anna Andexer, coming up, and Anna Gondler and Anna Yupa, Tamara Steiner. So they've got a good group. But Lisa Hauser finished 11th in the overall, which I don't think I would have predicted even a couple of weeks before the end of the season. But she closed very strong. So I think Austria is really good. Switzerland. Think
of Estonia, Poland.
Yes, Estonia, exactly. Yep. Finland had a great year with Suvi and Finland Lettinen, who got sick and wasn't able to finish out the year, but Czech Republic. So I just that next group. So like that I would say like that 5 through 10 range, 5 through 11 range. There are a lot of. It's not weak. I would say there's a lot of good talent in there. Poland, the Polish women coming up. So.
Bulgaria moved up a spot.
Bulgaria,
swapping with Canada.
Because they've got Hristova and Dimitrova. So I'm excited to see what they can do.
And maybe mention Lampich's podium, right?
Yes, both of them. Yep.
Yeah.
I think about that moment where Falk wins the individual, and then Lampich was a third in the mass start. It's like, what is happening? This is incredible. The Slovenian weekend right there.
Yeah, so a lot of good things to come for the new season, and Olympics and holds. I don't envy people that need a place to stay and need to be there and have to drive that apparently very treacherous road to and from the valley. But
it won't be us. I can tell you that there is a 0.0% chance. I'm not even putting a 0.01. We will not be there. Covering from here.
Well, if I get an invite from the IBU,
if you get an invite from the IBU,
I'll be there.
after our hijinks in Oslo, I'll be impressed. But
yeah.
If anybody's listening, I'm still sorry about that.
So I guess for the remaining of the
I'm not done yet.
Season,
I got 2 more things.
No. But I just wanted to say we haven't necessarily lined up people, but we know that Emma Lunder is going to chat with us for sure, and we've talked to a bunch of people that I think are going to be really interesting to listen to if they agree.
Yes,
to come on.
I think you could pretty much count on a Polish presence on the podcast. I think Tobias was pretty firm that he wanted us to go
Absolutely.
interview. Yeah, at least one.
Yeah,
I'd be a little silly, but yeah.
I feel a little embarrassed that we didn't have Matthias on in the past season. So it's one of my main goals to get him on again. But yeah,
I'd really like to talk to him about, especially like what he's seeing, because the group that he's working with are not even in the juniors yet, but just like what he's seeing, especially from the German men. Yeah,
because when is the World Championships for juniors in Arbor? Is that Oh yeah, that's next season, February 25th, and I think that's the group he's working with, the kids that will be racing in that World Championship.
Have you been following him on Instagram at all?
A little bit.
Yeah,
I just haven't been on Instagram a lot, but
yeah, he doesn't post all the time, but it's just fun watching his updates from Arbor, because I think they're hanging out there. They're going to know that range inside and out.
Yeah. So anyway, we're definitely not going to take the whole summer off, and
I would say early on we'll probably pop in every couple of weeks, maybe every few weeks, and then I think we'll pick it up. We'll do a little bit more around summer biathlon time, and then honestly, like the end of summer biathlon now is early mid-September
too, right?
Was that
the München event?
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. Is that the end of summer biathlon is the traditional summer schedule is early to mid September, and then the one loop or the first loop, whatever they're calling it, is like a month after that. So it comes up pretty quick. And then a month after that, the season starts. And that's usually when I start to panic that the season is coming too quick and I've got way too much that we need to do. Because we're usually trying, that's usually our big interview time is in the weeks leading up to the season.
Right.
To try to talk to people how the summer went, how they're feeling before the season. So we've got that going on. I'm trying to get previews done. I'm trying to collect a whole bunch of data and things. And my ideas are going crazy by that point. So I'm going to try to not let it go all the way until Labor Day this year, it's just the first Monday in September. That's usually my kickoff. I need to not do that this year. That's my goal for the summer, is to not wait until the end.
Yeah. No, and I actually think it would be nice to maybe we met a number of fans in Oslo. Maybe we can get some of those on, or
yes,
definitely a large number of athletes on our list of people to talk to. So
huge number. Yep. Yeah, I think that would be fun. It'll be a good summer. I think we're going to have a good year. And I'm sure there are going to be a lot of things that we don't expect this summer, because we're going to have somebody gets injured or somebody transfers.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a bunch of
fingers crossed that nobody gets hurt on roller skis or bicycles.
I hope not.
But I was totally cutting you off because you had a couple more things that you.
I meant to mention the Belgians. We did it a little bit earlier, but really happy that the Belgian success with Lotte Lee and Maya Klutens and Yves Bouvard, and then on the men's side, Thierry Langer and Florent Claude, and I'm really impressed by. It feels like they've gone from basically an afterthought maybe 5 years ago to, I shouldn't say an afterthought, but like they were not.
Oh, you're going to get in trouble with Michael Roche now.
I know. I realize that's why.
Mikael. Yeah.
That's why I edited myself. But you never really saw the Belgian flag pop up too much. And now we're regularly seeing two women in the mass start, which is pretty cool. We mentioned Edeline of Greenland, of course, with the Slottemarks. We'll see the Danish flag at the Olympics, of course, but Edeline and Fem Steinevek having sort of a resurgence at the end of the season, kind of getting a new life for the Norwegian team. And then the last thing I want to mention was just I thought that the Ukrainian team had a really good season, and we didn't mention them enough. But
I was actually thinking that when you mentioned them earlier, that for us it's in a way easy because we're so far away that we don't think about it every moment of the day, that what's going on there, and to be able to compete with that going on in your home country makes it even more impressive how well they do.
I don't know how they do it. I honestly don't know how they do it. I mean, I would just want to quit and go home and be with my family. But they're out there, and they're not only competing but having success. So I mean, amazing job by them. And that's it. I have shared all of my thoughts for the 2024-2025 season. You'll never hear from me again.
I have a feeling that as soon as we hang up that I'm going to, I wanted to do that. I wanted to do that.
Oh, are you free? Yeah. Are you free in a couple of days? Because I got more thoughts.
Yeah. Well, maybe we can save them up for next Sunday. And then,
that's probably going to be what we're going to have to do.
Yeah.
All right, man.
All right. thanks everybody for listening. And
yes, absolutely.
Thank you. And we'll chat soon, I'm sure.
Oh, I would count on it. Better clear up your schedule.
Yeah.
All right.
Sounds good. Have a good one.
Bye, guys.
Bye.